Amanda, you're a keen advocate of lifetime planning, particularly for family business owners. What did the budget underline for you?
I think what we need to do, as I said before, I think we need to perhaps look at long-term planning. Yes, we're in a recession at present, we're going to be coming out of that, and I think it's a question of looking long-term at wealth preservation. It's looking at preserving wealth, not just from taxes, not just looking at this as a microcosm just in the most recent budget, but long-term. How do we preserve that wealth? Well, within the budget, certain reliefs are still available, business property relief, for example. So I think it's critical for those people who are perhaps running family businesses to consider business succession and to really plan sensibly for that. Are they going to be retaining the shares within the business so that they get that relief? What are they looking at putting in place? Are they looking at a disposal? And if they are looking at a disposal within, let's say, the next 5 years, they really need to sit down and take some careful advice. There are all sorts of options available, and I think that it's a question of seeing what strategy is best for them coming out of the recession, but also long-term, keeping that wealth within the family.
In your experience, what's the typical pitfall of a family business owner sort of faced with those challenges, particularly at the moment in the middle of a recession with the uncertainty? It's difficult to do long term, isn't it?
It is very difficult, but I think that if you are thinking perhaps that in the next couple of years you're going to dispose of the company, for example, or it's struggling and you just think, okay, I'm going to leave it there, we've done extremely well, just want to get out and take early retirement. I think it's important to get the structure right. If you haven't got that structure in place, you're potentially looking at 40% tax. It's a huge capital tax which doesn't necessarily, or won't affect that particular individual, but it'll really impact on their family. And wanting to make provision for spouses and children and grandchildren is critical. You've worked hard for that wealth, it's essential to preserve it.
Is it?
I think what you mentioned wealth preservation, and I think that's probably something that all of us around the table are involved in one way or another, and my perception is that's become a lot more important. Wealth preservation has become more important than wealth maximisation because of volatile investment markets, because of high tax rates and low growth.
Certainly for clients, for ourselves, the mandate we get now is Derek, preserve my wealth, just look after it. I've worked hard to get it all these years. Don't shoot the lights out, just make sure it's there for myself and my children for later.
Amanda's point is really good there because you grow your business, you do nothing about it, you sell it. You turn something that qualifies for business property relief into cash, which doesn't. And then you die, and then the taxman takes 40% of it.
Some more tax to pay.
Yes.
And it is very often the forgotten tax. I mean, we're concentrating very much on the budget. Yes, VAT is going up, capital gains tax has gone up, but what about that? It really is a stealth tax because we can all forget about it. It doesn't affect us here and now, but it will in the future. And we really mustn't forget that and lose sight of the fact that 40% of your total wealth, and everything is included in that. It's not just earnings, it's property, it's also money that you haven't got. It's potentially gifts that you've made in the past that's taxed. So it's essential to get some sensible advice and make sure that you've got plans in place for that.